you take out a legendary enemy in Fallout 4, they drop a weapon with a special effect. Some are amazing, others are total garbage, and today we're going to be ranking all of them from worst to best. Thanks for being here. My name's V.A.T.S, and I make videos about games I love. Just a few quick notes before we get started. We are not including effects that appear exclusively on unique weapons, no mods, no cut content, no console commands, and no creation club. This is strictly vanilla Fallout 4 and officially released DLCs. So let's jump right in with the worst effects in the game, which I'm calling side effects. Under no circumstance should any of these be your primary weapon effect. It's a slightly weird way to start the video, but this first tier is more of a bucket. It just felt right to group them all together here at the bottom. When the Far Harbor DLC released, it added a bunch of new legendary effects to the game, and some of them are truly terrible. There's one subset of them that are particularly awful, and those are the ones that activate when the player successfully blocks an attack from an enemy. Personally, I think blocking in Fallout 4 is really awkward and not always that useful, even when you're on a melee run. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I also forget to block all the time. But the true kicker here is that all of these effects actually have a very low proc rate as well. But let's keep it official and rank these properly. The worst legendary effect in Fallout 4 is blazing. This one is melee only, and you have a 25% chance to set attackers on fire for a whopping 50 damage. Total waste of time. Next up is charged, another melee exclusive. You have a 10% chance to deal 100 electrical damage on block. It's a super low percentage, but at least this one does notable damage when it actually connects. Next one is duelist. This is 25% chance to disarm attackers on successful block. Yet again, it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's actually really noticeable. Frigid. 20% chance to freeze enemies when blocking. Same issue as the rest of them, but it actually can be really helpful. It's kind of cool when somebody punches you in the face and then suddenly they're just standing there like a statue. All of these effects are terrible. They don't actively hurt a weapon, but they might as well not even be there. I would rather have pretty much any other effect in the game, which means they all have to go here at the bottom. And with that, let's jump to the next tier, ripple effects. They're not really that great, but these can have a positive impact on your run eventually. Nimble. Does anybody remember the Stalker perk from Modern Warfare 3? This effect provides 75% faster movement while aiming, and it's only available on guns. I generally dislike this one. Adding any inconsistency while aiming is always annoying. Also, I don't need to zip around aiming down sights. Fallout 4 has V.A.T.S. Why do I need this? Sentinels. An effect for melee and unarmed, it allows you to take 15% less damage while standing still and not moving. The silver lining is that it complements the rooted perk really nicely, but I'll pass, thank you very much. In no world do I want to just stand in the middle of the battle getting beat up by everyone simultaneously. Poisoners. What a waste of time. Poison your target for 10 seconds. 3 points of poison damage per second. Whopping 30 points of damage. But the problem is, it doesn't stack. Completely inconsequential, especially in the late game against high-level enemies. What's 30 points? A mythic Deathclaw does not care about 30 points of damage. Resolute. I appreciate Resolute because it doesn't just add a different kind of damage to your weapon. It slows time momentarily as the last round is chambered. I can see how it could be useful. It's definitely super cinematic, makes you feel like you're in the Matrix, but it is excessive, unnecessary, and it just drags out every fight. And this might just be my game. It also makes the physics engine go completely crazy.
She was a fairy.
Incendiary. This one's about at the same level as Poisoners. It sets the target on fire for 15 points of damage. Doesn't stack, does pathetic damage, but at least this one looks kinda epic. Makes you feel like you're playing Doom. Resilient. This is a very powerful and pronounced effect. You get 150 damage resistance while reloading. It just totally doesn't work for my playstyle. I've been playing FPS games for most of my life, so I am conditioned to duck behind a corner while I'm reloading. As soon as my gun runs out, I start scrambling for cover, so I rarely ever get the benefit. It's not bad though. If you get it on a random weapon, it could actually be pretty beneficial. Stalkers. This is the effect from Tinker Tom's special. If you're not in combat, you get 100% increased V.A.T.S accuracy, but it costs 50% more AP, which is pretty significant. It can stack really nicely with sneak attack bonuses, but still, it's not that great. We're also starting to get into that territory with highly specific effects that don't work well on every weapon. This is a great example. Like, Stalkers isn't really that bad, but if you get it on a submachine gun, it's total turbo trash. Deadeye. Bro, putting this list together, I realized that Far Harbor had some of the fucking worst effects. They're actually dreadful. Deadeye is another time manipulation effect. This one slows time down while you're aiming. Way more useful than Resolute, which only happens when you chamber the last round, but I actually think it procs way too much. It completely messes up my rhythm. I've already spent my one Matrix reference, so this time I'm gonna mix it up and say it's kind of like the Christian Bale action movie Equilibrium. Anybody remember that shit? It was like in like the early 2000s. It was kind of good, actually. Nocturnal. Your weapon does increasing amounts of damage as the night grows longer and less damage during the day. It's not that bad and you could definitely build around it. I personally just don't want effects that dictate when and where I can use it. But if you're on a themed run like a vampire build or something, it's actually pretty useful. Steadfast. I really struggled to place this one. Plus 50 damage resistance while aiming isn't bad at all. If you're not doing a V.A.T.S or a melee build, you're aiming pretty consistently, but the issue is plus 50 damage resistance actually isn't that big of a deal. It's generally applicable, but the bonus is pretty meager. Berserker. This is a weird one. It's for melee and unarmed. More damage, the lower your damage resistance. So if you want to make the most of it, you should probably strip down to your underwear and run around the wasteland like a complete maniac. It's actually kind of a fun playstyle. Highly encouraged. 10 out of 10. Would free ball again. Relentless. We're starting to get into some pretty good ones. This is kind of the best of the worst. It refills your action points on critical hit. It's obviously really good in V.A.T.S builds. You get a crit and then that refills your AP, then you can go into V.A.T.S again and just kind of cycle back and forth. I put it here right at the top of the mediocre because it's kind of situational. If you're on a V.A.T.S build, it's a very welcome addition, but every other time I'm kind of disappointed when I pick up the weapon and it has Relentless on it. But it really doesn't have any downsides. It's not going to hurt your gameplay at all. And for this list, it's actually serving as kind of a bridge into our next tier, Domino Effects. If these drop on the right weapon, you'll steamroll the game. Defiant. This can be totally abused. The final shot in the magazine deals twice the normal damage. But if you're using a single shot or a bolt action, you're just doing double damage all the time. Like this Yao Guai was just not ready. Penetrating. Oh, I would have loved to have put this one a little bit higher, but of course, the quality assurance team at Bethesda strikes again. This is supposed to ignore 30% of the target's damage and energy resistance. But due to a bug, the energy resistance is not affected at all. It had the potential to be top tier, but sadly, it's just okay. Violent. This shit is actually kind of crazy. Look at that recoil. Look at that. You think that's worth it? How much additional damage would you need to do to make that worth it? Violent gives you 25% more damage and plus 25 limb damage, but it has 200% more recoil. It's actually insane. It's really not a fair trade. Obviously, this affects some weapons more than others. If you get it on a cannon, fucking crazy. But you could also get really unlucky and get it on an SMG, and it just makes the weapon practically unusable. But it's still kinda okay. It's just a pain in the ass to use, but holy shit, it's an exceptional way to clear a building. Never ending. Like the name implies, it sets your ammo capacity for the weapon to the exact same amount that you're carrying so that you never have to reload. There are a couple exceptions like laser muskets, the syringer, harpoon guns, and the junk jet. Being able to output that much DPS is pretty powerful, but it's also like kind of unnecessary. Just hold down the trigger and pray for the best. On the right weapon, it's epic, but also like if you get it on like a pipe pistol, who cares? Exterminators. I have a soft spot for exterminators. It does 50% more damage against mirelurks and bugs. The same effect that appears on Reba too. Doesn't sound like much, but it's so handy in the early game. When you're bombing around at low levels, a mirelurk can be a real pain in the butt. And even in the late game, you do have the mirelurk queen. If you're looking for weapons that do enhanced damage against particular enemy types, you could probably do better than this. But still, I think this effect has a solid role to play in the game. Quick Draw. A flat 25% reduction on action points. That's really strong. That's generally good on every weapon, but I think it's particularly strong on fast swinging melee weapons like switchblades. Death by paper cut. You can just hit them a bunch of times before they even know what happened to them. Hunters. Another enemy specific effect. This one does 50% more damage against animals. I rank this one higher than exterminators because they pose generally more of a threat over the course of the game. If I had to choose between a weapon that helped me kill bloat flies faster or Yao Guais faster, I'm always going to go for the thing that puts the bear down quicker. Ghoul Slayers. 50% more damage against ghouls is also very handy. Little note on this one, it has no effect on the gamma gun because the gamma gun has no effect on ghouls whatsoever. Enraging. Oh, I wanted to rank this so much higher, but I just couldn't do it. Critical hits cause targets to frenzy. It's very fun, but just so unreliable. Even though I'm ranking it kind of in the middle of the pack, I never throw an enraging weapon away. I always keep it handy. Put them right in the stash because that's like premium goof-off material. They're so fun to play with. I mean, it's probably gonna get you killed, but it's super fun. Plasma infused. Only for ballistic weapons, this adds 10 points of energy damage and can turn enemies into goo. I mean, the goo alone is like worth the price of admission. Insanely good on shotguns because it applies that 10 points of damage to every pellet. Oh, you just liquefy enemies. It's so much fun. Freezing. This adds a couple points of cryo damage to your attacks, but the real kicker is that you will freeze targets when you critically hit them. I'm a big proponent of the freeze effect. I kind of love being able to target one enemy within a group and just kind of knock them out of the fight. It can render a complex combat situation into something that's relatively manageable if you just focus down the biggest threat and freeze them. Hitman's. Generally applicable, but not the biggest bonus yet again. Hitman's does 10% more damage when looking down sights. If they bump that up to like 15 or 20, this would be so clutch. But as it stands, only 10%, it's hard to rank it much higher, but I definitely gravitate towards effects like this that are universally useful. I'll take something like this over an amazing effect that only happens every once in a while, or even worse, something you forget you even have because it's only activated when you hit a critical, for example. Hitman's is super solid, and if you get a weapon with a high rate of fire, that damage can stack pretty quickly. Cavaliers. Melee and unarmed don't have the best effects, but this one's actually really strong. It reduces incoming damage by 15% while blocking or sprinting. Giving me 100% damage reduction while I'm standing still means nothing, but if you can give me 15% while I'm running away, and it being for melee and unarmed is actually perfect. You run in, you get a bunch of swings, and then you dart away to your next target. All the while, you're just taking less damage overall. It's really useful. It's not the kind of effect that's so powerful that it unlocks a new playstyle or a brand new way to interact with your weaponry. It's just really solid, and it helps you accomplish your goals on a melee run way easier. Staggering. Simple, beautiful, and ultra effective, this gives you a chance to stagger the enemy on hit. If you can get this one on a fast firing weapon, you are going to be a monster. Being able to spray into a group of enemies and stagger them is incredibly powerful. Another fantastic effect for shotguns because you're amplifying your chance to actually proc this. Oh, it's awesome. It makes combat like almost too easy. Bloodied. This is a Fallout classic. You do more damage when you have lower health. I've never really found a compelling bloodied build in Fallout 4. For me, it's kind of a 76 thing. That was like a dominant strategy for the first like 5 years of that game's life cycle. For me, the risk is rarely worth the reward, but the potential of bloodied is through the roof, especially if you're using power armor. Oh, you can kind of smash on people. Crippling. 50% more limb damage is always welcome. It's kind of unintuitive and it doesn't work exactly how you think it should. It's not just like a flat 50% damage, it's actually to the HP of that specific limb. Highly effective and a welcome addition to most weapons. I don't go out of my way to target limbs or anything like that. It's just kind of one of those like background effects that once you have it on a weapon, you're just kind of doing really well, and I usually forget I even have it on a weapon. I don't really lean into it or utilize it that effectively. But then again, I'm never really disappointed when I see it pop up randomly. V.A.T.S enhanced. Ranged. There are two different V.A.T.S enhanced, one's for ranged and one's for melee. This one does 33% V.A.T.S hit chance and 25% less action points. Obviously pretty situational, but it enables V.A.T.S runs on a whole new level. If you're spec'd into it properly, this could be pretty devastating. This is one of those effects that you'll be waiting on a little bit. If you've decided to start a V.A.T.S run, you'll just kind of like buying your time until a V.A.T.S enhanced thing shows up and your run really starts cooking. Mutant Slayers. 50% more damage against super mutants, one of the most deadly enemies in the wasteland, and it ensures that Swan doesn't stand a chance. Rapid. Rapid's not that impressive on paper. It gives you a 25% increased fire rate as well as 15% faster reload, but I kind of fucking love it. I generally like the combat in Fallout 4, but this one definitely takes the clunk out of it and makes it feel a little bit crispier, less like an RPG first and more like an FPS first. Not to totally be that guy, but anything that gets the combat a little bit closer to something like Call of Duty, which is like smooth and responsive, I think that's a big positive, and it just makes your gameplay experience feel that much better. And depending upon the weapon, 15% faster reload can be very consequential. Obviously, there are some weapons that see a very small benefit from this, but in general, it's pretty fucking good. Kneecapper. Oh, now we're in big gym territory. 20% chance to cripple the target's legs. Nasty. Just mean. It's mean-spirited. I love it. It's my kind of thing. Crippling an enemy's legs doesn't just render them immobile, it basically makes them completely ineffective in combat. This effect alone can pacify some of the biggest, baddest enemies in the game. Troubleshooters. Robots in Fallout 4 can be highly lethal, and this does 50% more damage against them, which lets me get revenge on my arch nemesis, Liberty Prime. Take that, you big metal bastard. Irradiated. Oh, these effects are getting pretty nasty. This adds 50 points of additional radiation damage to all of your attacks. Very powerful, so it works well in the late game. The obvious issue here is that it doesn't work with enemies who are immune to radiation damage, and unfortunately there are a lot of rad-resistant enemies, ghouls, super mutants, robots, but anything human is gonna have a really bad day. This one's kind of slept on for sure by the community, but in the right situation, it melts. It would be an instant top tier if there weren't so many enemies that it didn't apply to, unfortunately. Lucky. Crit shots do double damage and critical meter fills 15% faster. This is like get out of jail free, save your life kind of powerful. Look at this. I was fighting a Savage Deathclaw and Hellfire Troopers, and I still got the best of them. Totally saved my bacon. V.A.T.S enhanced melee. I had to put the melee version of this way higher because 40% less action points when you're stabbing people up like Michael Myers. Oh, mix in a couple sneak attacks, it's brilliant. Enemies are on the ground before they even knew what hit them. Assassins. Of all the enemy specific effects, Assassins is kind of in its own tier. 50% more damage against humans is pretty elite because most of the most dangerous enemies and bosses you're going to be fighting in Fallout 4 are human. It'll make a lot of those late game encounters way easier. Instigating. This takes sneak attacks to the next level. It does double damage if the target is at full health. Absolute fucking destruction. You become one of the most fearsome creatures in the wasteland. You don't actively think about it, but you're constantly doing sneak attacks on various enemies, and instigating makes those hyper lethal. It's the kind of effect that turns the tables on every fight. Mighty. Sometimes this one's called powerful, which is kind of interesting because it definitely is. It gives you a 25% flat damage increase. Who doesn't want just a quarter more damage? That sounds fantastic. I'll take 2, please. On large, heavy-hitting weapons, it's absolutely bonkers. On rapid-fire weapons, it's splendid. I get super stoked when I see this drop on a weapon, but it didn't quite make the top tier. Before we jump into the final 5 legendary effects, I just want to thank you again for being here. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it. I'm super thankful for your support. It means so much to me. It's hard to put in words, but I deeply appreciate it. I say this in every video because I mean it. I love reading the comments, so please jump into the comment section and let me know what your favorite legendary effects are. Any interesting combinations that maybe I didn't cover in the video, I really want to hear your opinion. And with that, we're going to delay no longer. We're jumping into our final tier, ultra effective. These are absolute run makers. Once you get your hands on these effects, like the game's pretty much over. Junkies. You get 15% more damage for each addiction. Step 1, do every chem in the wasteland. Step 2, keep doing them until you're fully addicted. Step 3, decimate your enemies. When you tally them all up, that's a whopping 180% damage. This is some of the highest damage output you can get in Fallout 4. It's blissful, and it's really not that hard to acquire through normal means of gameplay. And Addict Doll exists, so you can just cure yourself once you've had your fun. Junkies is monstrous, and it's super high up on the list because of the sheer potential. I've never done a fully dedicated Junkies run. It's kind of something I just kind of dip into when you have the opportunity. Like you run into a great weapon and you're like, well, guess what? I'm just gonna do jet all week until I'm fully fucking fried, then go on a rampage. 2-shot. I love this one so much. It's for ranged weapons only, and it fires an additional projectile, but it has 25% more recoil. Doubling my damage for a quarter more recoil, that sounds like a fantastic deal. It dramatically increases your damage output for not much penalty at all. It can transform basic weapons into death machines, and if you get it on an actually good weapon, holy shit. 2 cannonballs, 2 nukes, I'll take it. It's so lethal, it'll make you do a double take. Furious. Oh, it's so good. It's so much fun. Damage is increased by 15% after each consecutive hit on the same target. You've definitely played with it before. It's the effect on the Furious Power Fist. In the base game, it's restricted to melee and unarmed, but in Nuka World, they added it to ranged weapons. That's why the Splatter Cannon and the Problem Solver are so ridiculous. But no matter what you have it on, the damage ramps surprisingly quickly. Fast swinging melee weapons get a huge benefit from it, and the requirement to hit the same target consecutively is like like barely a requirement. That's just kind of naturally how you play melee anyway. I love the playstyle where you just feel like this like wrecking ball pushing through enemies. Super satisfying. Wounding. Okay, it's time for a confession. I put out a video where I ranked Pikmin's blade very low, and I've heard about it for the last 2 years. I probably should have explained myself a lot more clearly and thoroughly. Pikmin's is an incredibly strong weapon. I just don't like it. It has the wounding effect, which adds 25 points of bleed damage. You absolutely fucking destroy everything you stab, but I still don't like wounding. I just think it's boring. It's almost too powerful. I'm ranking it very high this time. It's number 2, and that's purely out of respect for the damage output. Any weapon you get wounding on is going to benefit from it greatly. It's simple to use. You don't have to do anything special. You just shoot enemies or stab enemies and they die. It's just kind of not my thing. So that's my caveat. I'm showing wounding respect this time around, but I still don't like it. It practically trivializes the game. Fallout 4 is already very easy. When you add in wounding, you're just zombie walking through the game. Nothing can even touch you. Some people really love that. For me, it's kind of a detriment, but number 2, overall, you obviously can't go wrong if you get wounding on a weapon. But I couldn't put it at the top because that spot is reserved for something that's very close to my heart: explosive. I ranked the spray and pray number 1 unique and explosive the number 1 legendary effect. Come on, I'm a simple man and I like when things blow up. It adds 15 points of AoE damage and it turns pretty much every ballistic weapon into a grenade launcher. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the explosive shotgun is by far the best. It's just incredible. But an explosive minigun also does the trick. Chaotic, messy, the opposite of discreet. It's like the polar opposite of sneak attacks, but that is definitely my favorite playstyle. Loud and proud, baby, we're going in. For my money, explosive is by far the best legendary effect in Fallout 4. Thanks again for being here. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you again soon.